So what are loops? Loops are used whenever you want to repeat any particular part of the code with say different values. Now to understand loops, you should understand three important things which are related with loops. The first thing is the initial value of the variable with which you want to start the loop. Suppose my variable in the loop is high. What is the value of the variable which I want to start with? So suppose we are starting with the value say 0. The next thing you have to decide is the maximum value up to which you want to run the loop. Okay, so let's say 10. And the third thing you have to decide is how you want to increase the value in terms of in steps of 1 or in steps of 2 or in steps of 3. So let's say step 1. So what step means is for the value of high to reach from 0 to 10, how will it increment? Whether it will increment by 1 or whether it will increment by 2. So suppose you're writing step 1, which means it will increment by 1. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. In this fashion it will increment. Whereas if you're writing step 2, then it will increment in 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 in this fashion. So once you have decided these three things, then you can construct your loop. So the first loop is, which I would like to explain you, is for loop. The for loop is something which I had already seen in previous discussions, and you know how to use this loop. So suppose I have this for loop, and as I said, my variable is high over here. So I'll write for I equal to 0 to 10, and here I'll write step 1. Now basically you don't have to write step 1 because step 1 is the default thing for loop. If you want to increase by one step, then you don't have to mention it. But in case you have to increase by 2 steps or 3 steps or whatever, then you have to mention step whatever the value is. So let's say we are incrementing by 1, so I won't be mentioning step 1 over there. Next thing, let's say I'll display the value of the I. Now what will happen is the loop will run for different values of I till it reaches the value 10, and then once it reaches the value 10, it will come out of the loop. So when I run this, the first value is 0. Since I'm displaying the value of I will take the value 0. This is the initial value which I had defined. Now since by default it will increment by value 1, next value which it takes is 2, then it will take 3. So in the increasing order of 1, it will go on till the value reaches 10, and after that it will come out of the loop. Now similarly, if you want to decrement, what you can do is instead of 0 to 10, I can go to, let's say, go from 10 to 6. So it will work in the same way, but here we have to mention step because by default it is incrementing by step 1. But since we are decrementing it by step -1, so we have to write -1 because it is decrementing, right? So we have to mention step -1 over here. So now when I run this, the initial value is 10, and it will run till the value goes to 6, and then it will come out of the loop. Now we have different applications in for loop. In your real-time scenario, you'll come across different cases wherein you'll use for loop. For example, suppose I'm declaring an array. Okay, and let's say the name of the array is name. Okay, so it's an array containing the names, and I'll put some values over here. So I'll show you a simple example wherein you'll make use of the loop. Rahul, Rita, Seema, Mahesh. Okay, so as you see, I have declared my array wherein I put 4 values in the array. Now how can I make use of, I suppose I want to display each and every value in my array using a for loop. How will I do it? So let's see. So as I said, okay, I'll remove first of all this. So as I said, first of all you should know where to begin with. So the first value of I, that is what you should know. So what will be the first value of I? Now here we are starting with the array which has the index 0 for Rahul. So let's say I know the initial value is 0. Now I need to find the end value for my loop. Now since this array is of 4, takes 4 spaces, so the end value will be 3 because 0, 1, 2, 3. These are the 4 indexes which will be used in my loop. So the end value is 3. And we also know that the array is in a sequential way, so it will be incrementing in the step of 1, that is 0, 1, 2, 3. So we don't have to bother about steps. So let's say we write for I equal to 0 to 2 to 3. Okay, and in between we'll display the values in my array. Okay, a name I. So what this for loop is going to do, for initial value array with index 0, it will display Rahul. Then it will display Rita for the second iteration of the loop. For the third iteration, it will display Seema. And the fourth iteration, which is a maximum value where the value of I will be 3 and array's value will be 3, index will be 3, it will display Mahesh. So instead of writing 3, what I can do is 3 is hard-coded value, right? Instead of writing 3 straight away, I can take the row count of my, the number of values in my array, and I'll know the upper bound for the for loop. So there's an array function called as ubound. Okay, I'll just display what this ubound does. So suppose ubound is upper bound, and inside I will mention the array name. Okay, so what it will do is it will throw the size of the upper limit of the array. Okay, so in this case the upper limit is 3. I'll run from this step. So it is throwing 3 because the upper limit of my array is 3. I'm running from here. As I told you, from 0 to 3 it will display all the 4 names. Okay, now like ubound, I can, instead of writing 3 hard-coded value, I can write ubound. Okay, a name. So it is running from 0 to 3. Now instead of writing 0, I can write L bound. Like upper bound, there is lower bound for the array and the array name. So suppose your array is taking the memory space from a name 0 to a name 3, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 values. Then we can use L bound array name, which will throw the value 0, and U bound array name, which will throw the value 3. Okay, so the loop will be working the same way. Instead of hard-coded values, I've used U bound and L bound functions. Okay, now there's a variation in for loop which is also called as for each.